all two people that actually bother to follow my content. It's Sire Shade, and I'm finally back after several months of not having a functioning laptop. Again.
While the specifics will remain classified, it's been a rougher couple months than anyone outside looking in might think, and even at the time I'm making this video, I'm still stressed as fuck like I've always been. But I refuse to let it stop me from doing what needs to be done any longer.
So let's get back to work by looking at Descendants.
A film that aired back in 2015, and talk of a huge hit. It released on July 31st and was the 5th most viewed movie in cable history just halfway through August. It started an animated spin-off, and it even has a prequel book. And with its sequel on the way, I figured I'd throw my own 2 cents in.
So what is my opinion? Let's jump in.
Well, what would you call it? It's not entirely a reboot because it doesn't start from the beginning of anything, but it's not really a sequel either. Well, Wikipedia calls it a continuation, so I guess we'll go with that, of the classic animated Disney film series. A dozen years after the wedding of Belle and Prince Adam, they've established the United States of Auradon, a nation for all surrounding kingdoms, and at the edge of it is Auradon Prep, a boarding school filled to the brim with colors so bright and dull that Princess Celestia would want to barf dark magic all over it. In addition, their little progeny, Benjamin, is being crowned king. His first proclamation? Select 4 kids from the Isle of the Lost to be stolen away from their parents and the place they call home in order to be brainwashed for conformity. I mean, be accepted into Auradon Prep and teach them how to live better lives so they don't have to go back to living behind an anti-magical wall. Yeah, that's what I meant. For those who, like me, didn't bother to read the prequel book, the Disney villains, some of them had to be resurrected, were all placed on a prison island, not that one, that's basically the Boiling Rock meets Miracle City. It's sealed behind a magical barrier that neutralizes magic and, worst of all, Wi-Fi.
Oh, this is a fate worse than death.
These villains have apparently gone through some cheerfulness classes because they do not seem to act as you'd remember.
But hey, it was enough to get them laid because now they have kids.
There's Evie, offspring of evil Queen Grimhild, or however the hell you pronounce that. Jay, Joy of Jafar. Carlos, kid of Cruella de Vil, and above all, Mal, the mother being Maleficent. They all seem to enjoy being under the malicious influences of their folks and run amok throughout the Isle of the Lost until they're summoned to go to Auradon Prep. The parents agree, but not because they want their children to lead better lives than them, but because Maleficent wants them to steal the magic wand of the fairy godmother and break the barrier so she can get out and take over Auradon and bend morality and whatever.
I will be able to bend both good and evil to my will.
Yeah, that. And so the race is on for the quartet of misfits to meet new people, battle prejudice, and choose between mending their malicious mission or abandoning their evil upbringings and finding finer fates. Unnatural alliteration feels unnatural.
This is an odd case for me because I reviewed songs in the past, but movies are totally different.
So I had to get help from some other people who have reviewed the movie. However, I'm no plagiarist, so I will be mentioning things they brought up while putting it in my own words and adding my own personal opinion.
Whether you agree or not is totally up to you, but please try to be civil about it. But don't try too hard or you'll hurt yourselves like last time. I have a love-hate relationship with Descendants. Or should I say, impressment, disappointment.
There are plenty of things about this movie that I absolutely loved. The idea of a child not liking the idea of having been raised to do something that would negatively affect a large portion of the world, if not the entire world itself, is nothing that hasn't been done before, but I still always loved that sort of thing. So mix it in with the sins of the father, put a modern spin on the whole thing, and bippity boppity boo. We had the makings of an epic journey. But of course, most of these regular kids have a problem with these villain kids.
It's not totally unwarranted because they're villains kids.
Would it be so surprising that they would be out here to cause trouble? Which they technically are. Humans are both inherently good and inherently evil, and the two are always at war for dominance of the conscience. More often than it should, it's the evil that wins. In the case of this movie, it's because of both nurturing and lack thereof. The way a child behaves in their later years mostly depends on how their parental figures raise them. Most of the time, I think. Here, the parenting is there, but the parental love is not, and the lessons are corrupted. Their parents always taught them the difference between right and wrong, but always raised them to specifically be the opposite of anything positive. So, as it turns out, their evil ways aren't really their fault at all.
They even established it in the first musical number. We'll get to that later.
That's why they were dragged off the aisle, to be surrounded by nothing but good so they could make their own decisions with legit discernment between what's good and what's bad. There are plenty of other things I can't get enough of, like the design of the villain kids' outfits. Kara-san did a good job with these. There was also Wendy Raquel Robinson as Cruella de Vil.
I want that wand!
Do you? Hadn't heard.
I don't know why, but seeing someone step from one of the most popular shows on BET to a Disney movie earns you all of my respect.
Also, this scene.
Can I please see a remote? Thing on.
God, it's broken.
I hate electronic.
I don't care what you say, any scene that has people from the past trying to catch up with technology and society of today is always going to be hilarious to me.
But of course, there are plenty of things I couldn't stand about this movie. And before you ask, no, I'm not going to bother complaining about the fact that it's a reboot, sort of, because I couldn't really care less about it. I don't mind reboots as long as I find them enjoyable. Let's begin with the overall production.
You want to know how hyped this movie was? It received over 1 million views on the Disney Channel app before it even premiered.
And that's to be expected. They're tampering with old classics from everybody's childhood.
Personally, I was expecting a story of epic proportions.
Broadway-style acting, insane conflict internally as well as externally among characters, a ginormous variety in genres for the musical number.
Oh, wait, it's a Disney Channel original? Yeah, they're gonna water it down like a flower garden. And boy, did they.
Over the years, the acting on Disney Channel has grown beyond campy, even for a network aimed for little kids.
Tyler, I haven't even done anything yet.
That looks like fun. Let me try. I thought that might happen.
And it noticeably carries over into this movie.
I totally do not blame you for your mother trying to kill my parents and stuff. Water under the bridge. Totes.
Dove Cameron is a queen among Disney stars, and I want her in my life, but I'm sorry, I just couldn't see her in a role for something like this.
You know, and I totally do not blame your grandparents for inviting everyone in the whole world but my mother to their stupid christening.
She's not doing anything in this movie that would blow Meryl Streep away. Quite frankly, no one is.
She did it to Jane's hair too, and Fairy Godmother's not happy about it.
They were raised by their parents, Beth.
Mom said, if a boy can't see the beauty within, then he's not worth it. Can you believe it? What world does she live in?
These actors, even the Disney veterans, all seem to just feel out of place for this production. Then again, everybody seems to be having such a good time despite not taking things very seriously that it's hard to fault them for it.
Which isn't a bad thing. I mean, if you're not having fun with something you don't have to do, then why even do it?
Just look at how the fairy godmother goes through her lessons with the villain kids.
You find a vial of poison.
It just makes me smile. While we're on the subject of the cast, let's talk about the character introduction. Musical Hell pointed out that these characters always like to mention who their parents are just to make sure you know why they're supposedly important to the plot.
My mom's Aurora. Sleeping Beauty.
She totally read everything that was on my mind the second time I saw this.
This movie is less about the classic characters we all remember and more about their descendants. Anyone who bothered to sit down and watch this was already well aware of this and were willing to look past it enough to see what these new characters had to offer. And I find a lot of these characters rather interesting, even if they're not very original. So to specifically introduce these characters as the offspring of the classic faces not only contradicts that notion, it makes things rather awkward.
Hi guys, I'm Dopey Son. I'm Dopey Son.
You could have come up with more creative or suggestive ways to tell us who these characters are. Hell, here's one right now.
Hey guys, I'm Lonnie.
A happy-go-lucky Asian chick whose name is Lonnie. Lonnie. I wonder if I know either of her parents.
Mom's Mulan.
Okay, ignoring how that pretty much treats the viewers like they've never seen an episode of Scooby-Doo.
Which I doubt given how determined this franchise is to stay alive for as long as possible.
Why would she just assume the villain kids would know about Mulan herself, even if she is a world-renowned heroine? They didn't even know a lot of these heroes and or princesses had children. And up next is the plot. While I praise the overall concept of the movie being an anti-Antichrist / Sins of the Father plot, I can't help noticing that a lot of things either seem to go nowhere or just shouldn't have even been bothered with. Check this out. Carlos's mother raised him to fear dogs. That gets resolved in one scene where he meets a cute little harmless mutt. Jay needs some kind of outlet for his anger issues or something. He takes up the resident Quidditch quasi ripoff where, while he learns the value of teamwork, he still knocks people around, which, last time I checked, ain't too sportsmanlike. Mal steals Ben from Audrey. She just pawns herself off to Chad, though not for long.
Then there are the general logic and plot holes.
Cruella de Vil's now black while her son is white. The fairy godmother's daughter decides to bitch at Mal despite the fact that Mal has done nothing but help her. Doug is too smart and down to earth to be Dopey's child, which kind of goes against my earlier point. Ben is being crowned king at the age of 16. Is that Melody, or did Ariel have another child? Mal learned magic despite being underneath a barrier that suppresses magic. Grimhild passed her dark magic powers onto Evie, but we never really see her do anything with it beyond using a magic pocket mirror as a Google Earth, a calculator, and a Facebook quiz.
Mirror, mirror in my hand, who's the biggest jerk in the land?
There's only one security guard in the museum. Why is the final battle against Maleficent a dark magical staring contest? Why the hell is the old black woman advocating for segregation? And I know damn well you ain't trying to tell me that's supposed to be Dr. Facilier. There are some other plot holes that other YouTubers like Shark Jumping and Musical Hell point out, so I'll leave links to them if you want to check those out. I know I'm probably missing out on a lot of answers I could easily get from the prequel book, but I'm not about to read that, so if you got answers, put them in the comments if you want.
Then I heard Kenny Ortega, this motherfucker, was directing, and...
While I like the High School Musical trilogy, even I have standards of this sort of thing.
Yes, we're getting to the music, which originally wasn't even supposed to be there.
If you've seen any of the High School Musicals, you can already tell how the structure of the music would turn out, but at least the music in those films were more consistent and the lyrics were stable, thus the musical portion was more enjoyable.
But here, I can't tell you what's up.
I mentioned Rotten to the Core earlier with apprehension. There's a reason for that.
They say I'm trouble. They say I'm bad. They say I'm evil. And that makes me glad.
This used to be my favorite number in the movie, but after a while of not listening to it, I just cannot get behind it anymore. Aside from the lyrics being more like everyday speech than words you'd find in a decent villain song, the music is kinda, sorta, but not really dubstep, and... what genre even is this? Well, whatever it is, it's not for me. Not anymore.
I'm rotten to the core, rotten to the core. I'm rotten to the core. Who could ask for more?
Up next is Evil Like Me, sung by Maleficent.
Don't you wanna be evil like me? Don't you wanna be mean? Don't you wanna make mischief your daily routine?
While I can't get behind certain parts of it, Kristen Chenoweth, or however the hell you pronounce that, her ham makes this number. I don't care that the original Maleficent is stoic and doesn't particularly care for any arts that aren't the mystic arts. This is actually the most fun number in the movie. Did I mention?
Which I thought was fittingly titled Ridiculous.
It's as laughable to hear as it is painful to watch.
Did I mention that I'm in love with you? And did I mention there's nothing I can do? And did I happen to say I dream of you every day? But let me shout it out loud, that's okay.
Yeah, this is supposed to be their soon-to-be king. Well, at least he won't be some uptight douchebag who doesn't know how to have fun. Then there's If Only, a solo by Dove herself.
If only I knew what my heart was telling me. Don't know what I'm feeling. Is this just a dream?
As far as I care, it's just an okay love song at best. Though why the director thought putting flashbacks of what just happened in literally the exact same movie not even 45 minutes ago is beyond me.
If only.
Ma chère mademoiselle.
Following that, we have what's quite possibly the most infamous number in the whole movie.
Put our service to the test. Tie your napkin round your neck, cherie, and we'll provide the rest.
A hip-hop acapella revision of Be Our Guest from Beauty and the Beast. I can understand why so many people have a problem with it. Beauty and the Beast is often called the greatest Disney movie of all time, in no small part thanks to this number. So to turn it on its head like this is going to strike a nerve or two. But I personally have the same opinion of it as I do of Did I Mention? I feel embarrassed for the cast, but I can't help smiling and laughing. And call me a Philistine, but I haven't seen this movie in several years, so I don't really have any personal attachments to it that would make me hate this. Oh, and if not this movie, somebody on YouTube would have done this at one point or another.
Also, the nerd is beatboxing.
They can sing, sing, sing. They can dance, dance, dance. After all, miss, this is France. And the dinner here is never, never second best.
And lastly is Set It Off, which to me is the worst number in the movie.
Let's set it off. Oh yeah. Start a chain reaction. Never let it stop.
Maybe it's the music, maybe it's the pacing, maybe it's the fact that it's trying to be we're all in this together and failing miserably. Whatever it is, I just don't like it. Yeah, you've probably noticed that there are a lot of bad things that tend to outweigh the good. Whether it's with the plot, the music, the character portrayals and casting, the dialogue, and yes, even the premise I can't help loving. It's actually a good thing this wasn't some huge production like I'd initially hoped. Despite all this, I still hold a soft spot for it. It makes me feel like a little kid again. It has a few heartwarming moments here and there. It gives me a couple laughs.
Oh, wow, she's overdressed. Meanwhile, my girl duped a prince and she's this close to grabbing the magic wand.
Bitter party of one, bitter party of one.
And it did interest me enough to want to see the sequel coming out real soon.
Well, either that or Ways to Be Wicked.
Rushing the party, guess they lost my invitation. Friendly reminder, got my own kind of persuasion.
Would I call it a movie I could watch 100 times and never tire of? Nah, I think I've seen enough. I'll probably just watch it every blue moon. If you're looking for a Disney movie that'll give your child some silly tunes and some color-coded characters and a rather lighthearted story about integration versus segregation, this movie's totally harmless. But if you're looking for something that'll push the envelope of what a Disney movie can do with its messages, its characters, its visuals, and of course its music, there are so many better options out there. Might I recommend The Hunchback of Notre Dame or The Princess and the Frog? Overall, I actually do recommend checking it out, whether you're a fan of the animated classics or not.
I could even call it a guilty pleasure. If I were actually ashamed to like it, which I'm not. Oh, that reminds me.
Question of the day. If you were a descendant, who would your parent be? What would your derivative name be? And what would be your specific skill or power?
And with that, I am off to find more ways to be wicked. This is Sire Shade saying...